The wing coaster was introduced in 2001 by Aerodynamics. This was X at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Since then, other manufacturers have taken their own spin with the wing coaster, like S&S and Intamin, but the most successful wing coaster model belongs to B&M. This became their dominant looping model over the last 10 years, and they've sold 16 of these around the world. These all offer similar rides, but they're mostly different layouts, featuring different elements in different orders with different effects. The hallmark of these wing coasters is the near-miss elements, and those make the ride just as exciting as anything. But let's throw all that away for now, and look at these rides objectively. Which one of these is the tallest, fastest, longest, best paced, and which one has the most prime ride time? These are the world's B&M wing coasters, by the numbers. If you're new to this series, prime ride time starts when the train picks up speed off the lift, and it ends when it hits the final brakes. Mid-course brake runs are left in, but they will hurt the pacing. With the help of Google Maps and the Pythagorean theorem, I was able to take the lift, station, and brakes out of the total length, so the number on your screen represents just the prime ride track. I said B&M sold 16 of these, but one of them never opened. This one's at Hot Go Dream World in China. It started construction back in 2015, but it's been standing there dormant for years. I also want to thank Maya Palmasane and Rollercoaster Dream for a lot of this footage. There are a lot of wing coasters in China, and they have some great POVs. I highly recommend checking out their collection. Not all of these coasters have listed stats, so for some, I had to dig deep to find something useful, or rely on projections when all else failed. Before we get started, if you could drop this video a like, I'd appreciate it. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. In 15th place with 32 seconds is Phoenix at Toverland in the Netherlands. This 2018 coaster only has 3 inversions, and when I saw the POV, my first reaction was, this seems like an incomplete ride. It's no surprise to me that this offers the shortest ride time. It's also number 13 in length, sporting just over 2,000 feet, but it's closer to the middle in height and speed. It's 131 feet and 59 miles per hour, ranking 8th and 9th. And as you could expect for a coaster that size but also that short, it's got great pacing. It leads the pack with 63.7 feet per second. It has a lot of speed at the end that could have been used to pack in some more elements, but it uses that speed for a very intense helix in the middle of the ride. As for the near-miss elements, this has 2 dives under a bridge. This one stands out for its dark indoor section before the lift, and it's the only one to have a turn off its lift hill. In 14th place with 38 seconds is X-Flight at Six Flags Great America in Illinois. Most of these seem like pretty complete rides. Phoenix is really an outlier, and X-Flight falls into that. This opened in 2012, so it's one of the first ones to exist. Plus, this is a Six Flags B&M post-bankruptcy. It's gonna be on the shorter side. Its 2,411 feet of track is good for 11th. Same with that 120-foot drop, and its 55-mile-an-hour top speed is tied for second to last. Like Phoenix, X-Flight has some extra speed to burn at the end, so its pacing is tied for second place, traveling 63.4 feet per second, only about a third of a foot per second behind Phoenix. This is a beautiful coaster right in the middle of the park, and it has a great near-miss element when it goes into a roll through those towers. In 13th place with 39 seconds is Raptor at Gardaland in Italy. This was the first B&M wing coaster going back to 2011, and it's the shortest one they ever made, in more ways than one. Its 108 feet in height is last by about 10 feet, and it's the only coaster on the list that can't cover 2,000 feet in length. It's number 11 in speed, but unlike the last 2, it doesn't excel in pacing. This is down in 13th place, covering only 49.5 feet per second. This dives straight off the lift and goes into 3 inversions, and B&M seemed to get the whole near-miss thing right off the bat. This goes under a broken bridge, and ends with a roll through 4 objects, a pretty good way to end the ride. In 12th place with 40 seconds is Wild Eagle at Dollywood in Tennessee. This was America's first wing coaster, opening just before X-Flight in 2012, and like Raptor, it dives right off the lift. This goes up and over a hill, and unlike X-Flight, which is there for everyone to see, this is isolated from the rest of the park. This knocks out its 4 inversions right away, finishing with an airtime hill and a turn to the brakes, and this does not use any near-miss elements. It's 135 feet tall, good for 7th, tops out at 61 miles per hour, also 7th, and it has 54 more feet of track than X-Flight, good for 10th. It's also right in the middle in pacing at 61.6 feet per second. In 11th place with 41 seconds is Flug der Dämonen at Hyde Park in Germany. This 2014 coaster has 5 inversions, the most notable ones being part of the one and only demonic knot. This is an incline dive loop combined with an incline immelman, and it looks like a weird pretzel. This also goes under 2 bridges, and overall has a very twisted layout. It's 1/10 of a foot shorter than Phoenix in height, good for 9th, but it's up at 6 in speed at over 62 miles per hour. That's not bad, but it's down at 14th in length, barely clearing 2,000 feet of track. And if you think that drop in speed over a short track means good pacing, you'd be wrong. This is second to last in pacing at just over 49 feet per second. In 10th place with 43 seconds is Heaven's Wing at HB World in China. It took us this long to get to a Chinese wing coaster, and this is one where I had to project some stats. We know it's 118 feet tall, and that's only 14th. Based on that, I projected it tops out at 53 miles per hour, which would be last place. I also didn't have a length stat, and that's a lot more difficult to project. But given its similarity to X-Flight, I used that as my basis. And given its 43 seconds of ride time, I have this at about 2,728 feet of prime ride track. That would put this in 6th place, assuming it has the same pacing as X-Flight, which would be tied for 2nd. It's not great, but I can't find these stats anywhere online, so this is what I got. In 9th place with 44 seconds is Thunderbird at Holiday World in Indiana. The only launch wing coaster lands near the middle in ride time, getting up to 60 miles per hour, which is 8th, and reaches a top height with that implement at 140 feet, good for 6th. This one feels different from the others with the shorter 5-car trains, so it maneuvers a little different, and it's 6th in pacing, just barely ahead of Wild Eagle. It's also near the middle in length, covering over 2,700 feet of track, good for 7th. And aside from the launch, the signature element is the final inline twist blasting through the roof of a building. In 8th place with 45 seconds is the Swarm at Thorpe Park in the UK. Here's another older one, going back to 2012, and one of the best themed. The whole area is post-apocalyptic. You dive under a plane, through wreckage, a billboard, fly through 5 inversions total. The one weird quirk is it has a late brake run that leads into a dip into the final brakes. Because of that last dip, and the fact that it doesn't fully stop the train, I consider that brake run a mid-course, and not the final brakes. It kinda reminds me of Tatsuya's that pre-brake run, and when it comes off it, it dips down and then goes into the final brakes. You may disagree, and that's fine, I get it. At 127 feet tall, it's in 10th place, 9th in speed, 12th in length, and all the way down in last in pacing at 46 feet per second. That brake run slowing it down definitely did not help the pacing. In 7th place with 46 seconds is Forest Predator at Happy Valley in China. Here's one where I had no stats to work with, but I found a website about Chinese travel, and that says this is 1 kilometer long, so I started with a baseline of 3,274 feet. Take out the non-prime track, and this is tied for 8th in length. I also didn't have the height or speed, but based on how long it takes to enter the wing over drop to the very bottom, it's about identical to X-Flight. Super unofficial, I know, but it's all I could do. I have it tied for 11th in height and 12th in speed. It's also right in the middle of pacing, ranking 8th. This has a big airtime hill after its drop, and the coolest part of the ride is a near miss through a piranha's mouth. The second half is very low to the ground, and this has 5 inversions total. In 6th place with 47 seconds is Da Vinci Ride at Fantasy Valley in China. This just opened about a month ago, and it's a monster. It's over 180 feet tall, ranking 2nd, and it's 4th in length with over 2,900 feet of track, but it only covers 3 inversions, featuring a couple hills in the middle. Its near-miss element is a weird awning. It goes through on its way out, and goes over on its way back. I don't have a speed stat, but based on its height, I'm guessing it hits around 70 miles per hour, ranking 2nd. That being said, it's down in 5th in pacing, though it's still only a foot and a half away from being number 1. In 5th place with 50 seconds is Wing Coaster, a colorful Yunnan paradise in China. This may not have an original name, but it's got quite a layout. It's also 5th in height, length, and speed, but it's down in 9th in pacing, a few feet behind Forest Predator. That's surprising because it doesn't really seem to slow down in the second half. It has a very interesting implement, and it goes through and over 2 pagoda-style keyholes, which are excellent near-miss elements. In 4th place with 52 seconds is Flying Wing Coaster at Happy Valley in China. This was cloned in Forest Predator, so all the elements I mentioned there, you can apply here. The most disappointing thing is there's no piranha near miss on this one, and there's no near miss at all. 11th in drop, 12th in speed, 8th in length. Remember, those are all projections because I have no stats, other than knowing this is roughly 1 kilometer long. But because this is 6 seconds longer than Forest Predator, this is done in 12th in pacing, a couple feet better than Raptor. In 3rd place with 58 seconds is Falcon at Wuxi Sunekland in China. If you want the most impressive looking wing coaster, this is it. It might also be the best. To me, the best is Thunderbird, but it's hard to argue this wouldn't be better. First, this is almost a hyper, just a few feet shy of 200, tops in the field. It also clears 73 miles per hour, good for first, and it's 200 feet longer than the rest of the field. All that being said, it's only 4th in pacing, but that's about a foot away from the top spot. It does have a mid-course brake run, which doesn't help. This coaster is amazing for being so tall, but that enormous rockwork speaks for itself. It has 4 inversions, but also a long stretch where it doesn't go upside down between the implement and the final roll through the rocks. In 2nd place with 63 seconds is Gatekeeper at Cedar Point in Ohio. Placed right over the entrance of Cedar Point, this 2013 wing coaster has a very high profile. It's also a monster of a ride. 4th place with a 164-foot wing over drop. Also 4th in speed, hitting 67 miles per hour. 3rd in length as it stretches across the front of the park and comes back. And all the way down at 10th in pacing. It does not stay low to the ground like some of these others. It rises up into big elements, including those famous keyholes, providing the near-miss element. And then it goes into a mid-course and a slow helix, before finally hitting the brakes. The ride gets knocked for being too mild, and given it has the worst pacing of any of the US wing coasters, keeping in mind it's also the fastest, this kinda backs that up. In first place with 64 seconds is Parrot Coaster at Chimelong Ocean Kingdom in China. This came out a year after Gatekeeper, and stat-wise, this is almost identical. It's 1 second longer, 0.1 feet taller, good for third. 0.1 miles per hour faster, also third. 17 feet longer, good for second. And just like Gatekeeper, it suffers in pacing. About a half foot behind, good for 11th place. This has a straight drop into some very large, tall elements. Also has a section of straight track, which is different. It has 2 tunnels for the near-miss elements, and a very slow roll at the end. So even though, by just looking at the stats, it seems like it might be a clone of Gatekeeper, its layout couldn't be any more different. That's a wrap on the world's B&M wing coasters. By the numbers. Let me know if anything here surprised you, or confirmed something you already knew. It was no shock to me that Phoenix was the shortest, or that Gatekeeper had the worst pacing of the 4 wing coasters in the US. I thought it was interesting that Phoenix and X-Flight, the 2 shortest wing coasters in ride time, also have the best pacing. You see that sometimes with intense launch coasters, but not necessarily with big-time B&M loopers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, and if you want to see more videos in this format, check out my playlist below. If you're new here and love coasters, please consider giving me a sub. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel for copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you're a baseball fan like I am. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.